Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Daily Star Trek News. Today is Saturday, October 2nd, 2021. Coming up on the show today, Star Trek Online is kicking butt at its latest fundraiser. Vintage sci-fi is getting a couple of reboots. Star Trek fiction is stronger than ever, and this week's history will take you down a wonderful rabbit hole of comic book art, if you are so inclined. My name is Alison Pitt, and today's show is supported by people like you through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. And now just a reminder, if you're listening to me on the podcast today, you are welcome to come and join us on the live stream every Saturday at 2 p.m. on YouTube. We're a nice bunch and nobody bites, as far as I know. Anyway, that's at youtube.com/Daily Star Trek News. Also, make sure to stick around after the news. Today, I'm doing some Star Trek show and tell, and we've got the results of today's poll, which, speaking of which, today's poll was asking about your favorite aspect of Star Trek Lower Decks. Now, I've run this poll simultaneously on Twitter and on the YouTube live stream today, so I am very curious to see how the two will differ, if they will. The four answers are the humor, the Easter eggs, the heart, or the occasional obscenity. If you have seen this week's episode that's entitled I Excretus, you'll know what I'm talking about. You really, you cannot get away from one particular image this week. No spoilers here, though. Anyway. Let's get started on the news, shall we? And then we can get onto the other stuff too. Okay, so starting off today, I want to just shout about a win. So if you remember a couple weeks ago, I had an interview with Chase Masterson all about Star Trek Online Season 24 Reflections, their new season that's come out. All about the Mirror Universe, and to celebrate the launch of that, they were having a special bundle offer with Fanatical.com where you could buy in-game stuff. There was also donations to charity. Like if you bought through their website, then you would get they would donate to charity as well. And you had the opportunity to win a seat, a berth on Star Trek The Cruise 5, I think we're up to, which is setting sail next year. So this week, we found out some of the early results of that charity fundraiser, and they have raised over $75,000 so far for the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. So it's a really, really great result. The best part is it's still open. So that fundraiser is actually running through October 6th. So you have a few days left. If you'd like to score some exclusive Star Trek Online bundles and contribute to their charity fundraiser as well, please do so. You can go to fanatical.com and search for Star Trek Online. You can also go to StarTrekOnline.com. They've got a link there to that bundle, to that site. And of course, if you haven't already, you're not already a Star Trek Online player, you can also find out more about how to download the game and play it for yourself at StarTrekOnline.com. And please go and check out the interview that I had with Chase Masterson. She's a wonderful lady. In addition to her work on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, she's also had now a decade of experience with Star Trek Online. And she's doing great work with her own charity called Pop Culture Hero Coalition, and we talk about that too. So please go and check that out. That's on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Daily Star Trek News, and I hope you'll check it out. All right. Moving on from gaming to a little bit of vintage television. So the first one today, because there's two stories, which I'm sure you've heard about the second one already, but I'm going to go with the first one, is William Shatner's TekWar is being rebooted. And it's not just being rebooted as, you know, a plain old television series. It's what's going to be called a mixed reality adult animated series. So what does that mean? I don't actually know. Deadline reported this earlier this week. And what they've said is that it's going to be blending science fiction and science fact in the new series. And it's going to be a combination of an interactive thing with animation. I don't really understand it. So here's what they have to say. The new series is being written and developed by Matt Michnovitz, which I never pronounce the name properly, but he's from Star Wars, The Clone Wars, and 24. Pure Imagination Studios and Shatner's own company, Shatner Universe, will produce the series. It's billed as a mixed reality adult animated series, and it's going to allow audiences to get in on the action. Deadline says the level of immersion into the show, its characters, and technology is enhanced by the ability to become part of the narrative through audience use of mobile/wearable devices or tablet computers. Your guess is as good as mine. Pure Imagination's Chief Content Officer, John P. Roberts, commented on the partnership with Shatner Universe, saying, "We are very excited to work with the legendary William Shatner to reimagine the world of TekWar as a post-pandemic time. TekWar was ahead of its time, a future filled with AI and the world of simulated reality. It's becoming our reality now, and we're excited to build a story-verse around it." William Shatner as well is very excited. He says, "This is the future, and I'm looking forward to it." Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with TekWar, as I was, it follows the life of one Jake Cardigan, a detective who was later exonerated after being framed, convicted, and sentenced for selling mind-altering technology called Tek, T-E-K, so that's TekWar. I don't know anything about it. People who love it say they love it. It was a series of books before it was a television show and then a movie, but certainly it's one of a few of these older era shows that are kind of coming into modern reboots, which should be kind of interesting. That was the novel came out in 1989. Now, the second one, which we didn't cover this week, but I know that a lot of Star Trek fans are really, really, really excited about and does have a few Star Trek connections, is Babylon 5. So Variety reported earlier this week that a reboot is in development with the original series creator, J. Michael Straczynski. We talked a little bit about Babylon 5 when I spoke to Walter Koenig in my interview with him back in March. Babylon 5 is another series that I'm not that familiar with, but if you are interested in Babylon 5, if you love that show, you will certainly be happy, and you probably already heard about it already, so maybe not new news. Anyway, so that's it. Curious to see what they're going to tackle next. Personally, I'm for MathNet, which was a sort of a serialized, it went with Square One Television. It was a kids show, and it aired 5 days a week. It was every week had a 5-part story, and it was all based in math. And those guys were my heroes. It's a show I love, possibly more than Star Trek, and it's way overdue for a reboot. So watch this space. Anyway, let's move on. We've got a lot to cover today. So next up, we're talking about the novels, novels, fiction in general. Starting off with the new official magazine, Star Trek Explorer, which is kind of a reboot of the official Star Trek magazine. They are coming out with their first episode in November, and they had some they let TrekCore know about some of the details of what's going to be coming in the new magazine. One section of which is going to be short fiction. So it's not just by anybody; they're by some pretty big authors. So what do we say? TrekCore said each issue will have 2 print stories, and for subscribers, access to 2 more stories in a digital supplement. The first set of stories will revolve around the character of Q, and the initial stories will be written by novelist Una McCormick, who is a slight theme today. You'll find out more about her later. And James Swallow, who is one of the contributors to the Coda book series, which I'll come on to in a second as well. And then also Star Trek Voyager screenwriter Lisa Klink and writer Chris Cooper. Issue number 1 of Star Trek Explorer goes on sale on November 2nd. You can get it through any magazine retailers. Comic book stores should have it as well. Now, I mentioned the Coda book series. Now, I want to say I can't remember if we told you about that last week, that it was coming. Yes, we did. It was last week I told you it was coming out this week, and it's now out. It's available. You can get book 1, Moments Asunder by Dayton Ward. It's out at any good book retailer right now. But I wanted to point you towards our writer, Dave Powell, put together some questions for Dayton Ward, and we published the interview with him this week. So go and check that out if you want to learn a little bit more about Dayton's history and his thoughts on writing the series. There's some really good information in there, and it's just wonderful to hear it in his own words. So go check that out. DailyStarTrekNews.com. It's on there. All right. So I've got just a couple more stories that I'm going to get to in just a moment, but I do want to remind you all that if you're enjoying the show, if you like what we do, and you like learning about what's going on in the Star Trek multiverse, this show is supported by people like you through Patreon. I know it's like the script. I've been saying it for years, so I can't help myself. This show is supported by people like you through Patreon. You can find out more about that at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. It's really easy to sign up. We have memberships, monthly memberships from just $1 a month. And if you sign up for the year, you get a discount on that. So it works out to be about $10 to support us for the whole year. And that helps not just for this show on YouTube, not just the podcast, but it helps keep our daily newsletter going, helps pay our writers and make sure that we've got all the information that you need to know at your fingertips. So once again, patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. And one more thing before we get on to the rest of the news, the giveaway that I promised you last week for that book, the autobiography of Mr. Spock, which is edited by Una McCormick, that is now live on our website. So go to dailystartreknews.com/giveaway. All the details are there. Unlike some of our previous giveaways, this one is open to international people. So anybody worldwide, if you want to enter, please do so. It's very easy. You can either retweet our promotional tweet on Twitter. It's a little redundant. You can also just email me with the subject line "Spock me," and I'll enter you in the giveaway. Entries close next Saturday night, 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, and we'll get in touch with the winner shortly thereafter. So go check that out. All the details are on dailystartreknews.com/giveaway, and good luck. I really hope somebody international wins this because you guys get left behind a lot. Sorry about that. Okay. So the next part of the show, not so much news, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware that, Lower Decks is out now. We've got Prodigy coming up. Discovery Season 4 is coming in November, and the promotional machine is going gangbusters. We had a couple of interviews this week, not me personally, but other people did interviews that I wanted to point you towards. We've got write-ups and summaries on our website, but then you should go and check out the original interview. The first one is a voice actor by the name of Carl Tart, who voiced Kayshawn from Star Trek Lower Decks, the new Temerian crew member. So he did a conversation with Trek Movie, and you should go check that out. He's normally an improv guy. So it was an interesting change for him to be scripted. And also, Temerians are different and interesting. Anyway, that's over at trekmovie.com. The actor's name is Carl Tart, so that's a really good one. And then also Jeffrey Combs spoke with IO9 last week about coming back to Lower Decks again as the the totally normal and not at all evil computer Agamas, which was the week, not this past week, but the week before episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, and it was great. He's now been in, almost every series at this point. Anyway, it's a good interview with him. Go check that out on io9.com. And if you're into those interviews, if you like reading them, keep your eyes peeled because that's the thing that's coming out nowadays. A lot of the actors are doing interviews around various places for promotion. Okay, and then finally today, I'm changing gears a little bit. I don't normally do history on this show anymore. I always used to do it in the daily on a Wednesday. I always used to do history. we still do a history post on the website every week. And if you subscribe to the newsletter, of course, you get that every Wednesday. And our history writer, T, sometimes digs up some really amazing stuff. And this week, I wanted to signpost just to go and check it out. This past Wednesday would have been the birthday of a comic artist called Russ Heath on September 29th, 1926. He was a well-respected comic book artist. He's got, like, if you search for him on Google, you'll find loads of his stuff, but I will say some of it is NSFW. I'm trying to remember the name of the one that I saw, but it was scantily clad cowgirls fighting Nazis. It was top quality. But it's really, really fascinating because he was involved. Let me just read what T wrote. By the time he was 20, Heath was fully employed as a comic book artist for Timely Comics, the publishing company who would eventually become Marvel Comics. His first work for them had a Western theme, but since he was not credited, it's not definitively known what that story was. Excuse me. His first superhero story, however, is believed to be the 1949 story Fate Fixed a Fight in Captain America number 71. Now, why does this have anything to do with Star Trek? Well, I'm glad you theoretically probably asked while you were listening. So Heath's work in the Star Trek universe took place in 1975 when he worked for Peter Pan Records, which was a record label that had become known for creating records packaged with storybooks. Now, the company did a number of licensed releases, including a series of Star Trek stories. He contributed artwork to some of those releases, including at least two called Passage to Moab and The Crier in the Emptiness. Russ Heath was actually inducted to the Will Eisner Comic Book Hall of Fame in 2009, so he's, really well respected in the comic book world. You can read his biography on Wikipedia. Some of his work is available on comicarttracker.com, and there's also let me see what the name of the YouTube channel is. There is a YouTube channel by a user called C.H. Danhauser, who does some animated series. All the videos on that channel are animated series stuff. He has an entire playlist where he's got the Star Trek story record. How many are there? There's 8 of them. They're a really interesting piece of history. I obviously came to Star Trek. I came to Star Trek in the 90s, probably with TNG. And so some of the more obscure marketing tie-ins from the 60s and 70s passed me by. So this was new to me this week. I found it completely fascinating, as well as all of the other stuff that Russ Heath did in his career. Please go check it out. You can read the story about him on our website, dailystartreknews.com, and enjoy it. That's all I have to say. All right, well, that is it for the news this week in Daily Star Trek News. Thank you for listening. Now, just a reminder that if you are listening to this on the podcast, you should come and join us on the YouTube live stream. We have extra chat. Show and tell, let me tell you, is much more exciting when you can see the showing part of the show and tell. And so come join us. It's a ton of fun. It's Saturdays, 2 p.m. on YouTube, youtube.com/Daily Star Trek News. A reminder that you can also find all of this week's stories and more, because I didn't include everything. They're all on dailystartreknews.com. And if you still want that daily fix rather than just the weekly summation, you can hit up the Daily Star Trek newsletter, dailystartreknews.com/contact. There's a form on there to sign up that comes straight to your inbox. It's free. All we take is your email address, and it comes every day, so you'll never miss anything. Anyway, thank you again for listening. This show is produced by me, Alison Pitt, and it's written by Chris Peterson, Marina Kravchuk, Jack Brown, T. Rick Jones, and David Powell. Once again, today's show is supported by people like you through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. I'll be back tomorrow with more of the Star Trek news you need to know. I'm Alison Pitt. Live long and prosper. And stick around for show and tell because it'll be a ton of fun. All right. The news. Hey. Hi, everybody. How are we all doing today? That was an awkward silence while I wait for the stream to catch up with me. Yeah, put how you're feeling in the chat. I'm very curious to see how the poll is going. If you didn't see, up at, I actually don't know where it comes in the chat side of things. It should be at the top, hopefully. There is a poll today asking, what is your favorite aspect of Star Trek Lower Decks? Yeah, please do participate in that. And at the end, I'll check in with how the Twitter poll is doing as well. So, show and tell this week is really, really dusty because it's actually been on the floor of my office right there, which you can't see, but it's been on the floor of my office for a while because I can't quite bear to put it away in my box of memory stuff. It is my pass from STLV 2019. That's not working. STLV 2019. It's the last STLV that I went to, and it might be the last one I go to at the Rio in Las Vegas. So we'll see. This one was a really exciting one for me because, as you can see, so I had my little promotional pin at the top. That was my original logo for Daily Star Trek News. It's which I still like. It's, you know, but it didn't have my face on it, and the show kind of matured a little bit when I started putting my face on things. That's a really awkward thing to say out loud, but it did. So so it now has my face on it. Sorry, but that was the original logo and the original pin. And this was the first time that I had ever, believe it or not, this is the first time I ever actually had a press pass at STLV. And so I was really, really proud of having that. And fun fact, this literally only gets you access to the press pit at the front of the stage, which is less exciting than you think, because at first I was really, really, really excited about I was like, I get to go in the press pit. It's like right up at the front. But it's really cramped and you have to sit on the floor. And, you know, it's really uncomfortable, especially for long panels. And as I discovered, it's actually, I've seen a lot of the panels a lot of times now, and they kind of are the same over and over again. And it's really awkward when you have to like run in and take pictures of people and then run back out again. But it's, you know, it's fun, and it's definitely an honor to be recognized as press. This was also the first year because I only started Daily Star Trek News in 2019. So that was like the first year for that. On the Flickr, which you can find a link to my Flickr account on dailystartreknews.com, because I was including all the pictures from various events that I was going to way back. But of course, I haven't been to any events since then. I've got all the pictures that I took that year, including one particularly creepy one of Brent Spiner. And I don't know what it was, but in this picture, he has kind of a grimace on his face, and he was looking directly at me. And it's really creepy. Go and find it. It's fun. I repost it every once in a while on Twitter because it's a tremendous amount of fun. And of course, I always keep my wristband because I do. So anyway, that's show and tell. Seriously, guys, if you have lanyards or fun things like that, please, you know, send me pictures. I love to see them. It's just, you know, being part of the fandom isn't just shouting about, you know, whatever the latest argument is on Twitter. It's also about going to these things and, you know, collecting stuff and building a life around it. So show me your stuff. It'd be fun. All right. So I'm going to have a quick swizz up the chat, folks. So let me see. So Tim says, ever thought of doing DSTN on Instagram as well for some of So for some of us who do not use Twitter, I used to do daily Star Trek news on Instagram. I never broadcast live. Excuse me. But there is an Instagram account, and it's mostly got old stuff. What I was finding was that I was not getting the sort of interactions that I wanted on Instagram, and it's very time consuming to curate an Instagram account. Twitter for me is more effective, and I can auto post to Twitter using the website. Fun fact, some of you know this and some of you don't. For the first about a year of daily Star Trek news, it was only me. I literally wrote the entire show, recorded, produced, published the whole show, including all of the website, all of the social media, everything. So I automated as much as I could because I literally couldn't do it all. And Instagram is the one place that you can't automate to. You might be able to now. I don't know. I haven't used it in a while. But you couldn't auto post. You could plan ahead, but again, if I was planning ahead, I was planning the show. So it became, it wasn't generating the return that I wanted for the effort. So I don't use Instagram anymore. I've thought about TikTok, but I'm too old for TikTok. I watch TikTok, but YouTube for me is a much better, YouTube and Twitter are much better places for me. So that's where we will stick. I will try to make the show and our content available as many places as possible, but sometimes we just have to, be realistic about what we can do. So David says, speaking of logos, what do you think about DSTN t-shirts like Larry Nemeczek did? Yeah, probably should do that at some point. Honestly, the reason that I haven't is because I don't really have a logo except for the one that has my face on it. And I feel really odd about selling t-shirts with my face on them. That's pretty much the start and end of it. So I am working with an artist. I don't know if you know Carl Hewer, who's AKA Natural 20 Shirts. We're going to hopefully, there are a couple of custom designs on our TeePublic shop, which you can find out more about at dailystartreknews.com/TeePublic. There's a couple of Daily Star Trek News original designs on there. They're not a logo yet, but probably at some point we will get together and make something that's actually branded. So we'll see. Paul Wright says, I wish you were at this year's. I'm assuming he's talking about STLV. I kind of wish I was too. STLV looked like it was a ton of fun this year, but it's I still have a small person at home who can't get vaccinated for COVID-19. So between finding childcare and the risk we were putting the family at, I decided that this year was not the year to go. I'm glad that so many people enjoyed themselves, but it was just not for me this year. Let's see. Hello to Dr. Mohammed Noor. Which I never know how to say. It sounds really condescending, actually, when I say it like that, and I apologize. I just want to make sure that everybody knows how amazingly awesome Dr. Mohammed Noor is. If you don't know who he is a Star Trek science consultant. He also hosts BioTrekkie Explains on YouTube and BioTrekkie with the Admiral. And he's just an all-around really cool guy. So go check out his YouTube channel, too. Let's see. Paul Wright says, OMG, I loved MathNet. Yes, you did, because it's amazing. For those of you, if you have not watched MathNet, you can find all of them on YouTube. There are a couple people who have compiled the entire series, and they are excellent. They're just excellent. As far as I'm concerned, like, they were the precursor to the X-Files. I said this on Twitter the other day. If any of you don't follow me, or if you do, you probably heard about it. There was an episode I was watching recently where there was a baseball game, and this kid lost his father's prized baseball. And with the power of geometry, they found that it had bounced into somebody's house. So they figured this all out at the police station, math station, and they went to go and question the owner of the house. only to find that the house had been stolen. The whole house had been lifted off its foundations and stolen. So that's the level of weird that MathNet gets. But it's wonderful and educational. And, I love Star Trek because it inspires people to go farther and think big and think into the future. And MathNet certainly did exactly the same thing with math. I was very big into math, and I credit Kate Monday and George Franklin for that. Yes, Paul, they are on YouTube. Just search for them. The quality is terrible because I don't even think they were ever out on VHS. Somebody, I think, must have recorded them on VHS from a television broadcast and then put them together. Who knows? Anyway, I was going to say something and then I forgot what it was. So instead, I'm going to say thank you very much. We haven't done the poll. That's what it was. I'm literally looking at it right now. I'll give you like a couple more seconds. If you haven't done the poll, the question today is, what's your favorite aspect of Star Trek Lower Decks? The choices are the humor, the Easter eggs, the heart, or the occasional obscenity. Sorry. That picture of a spread eagle Boimler is everywhere on my feed today. I went on Twitter earlier to check just that we hadn't missed anything big. And Lower Decks was trending, which is odd. And I wonder if like Twitter is like tailoring the trending topics to my sort of audience or whatever, because I went scrolling down and nothing in there was like going particularly viral. I couldn't fathom why Lower Decks was trending, but it was. And yeah, just the whole damn place was just full of Boimler, and it was really a little upsetting. Also, this week's episode featured Alice Krieg as the Borg Queen, which is wonderful. At first, I thought that they might have just like grabbed snippets or outtakes from First Contact, but no, there's new stuff in there. So yeah, go get it. Okay, so right, I'm ending the poll. Let's have a look. It takes a minute to come up with the results. So in the meantime, I'm going to flip over and have a look and see what it's doing on Twitter too. Interesting. Huh. Interesting. Okay, so you guys said the winner with 50% of the vote is the Easter eggs. Second place is the humor at 30%. 20% said their favorite aspect of Lower Decks was the heart. And nobody said the occasional obscenity. Honestly, I kind of like the occasional obscenity. Not because I'm into obscenity, publicly, but I love watching people losing their minds and talking about it. And it just, I like that they're breaking the rules. That works for me. For comparison's sake, over on Twitter, if you don't follow me on Twitter, by the way, it's twitter.com/Daily Trek News. Daily Star Trek News wouldn't fit, so it's Daily Trek News. The poll is on there, and so far, I'm going to let it run overnight, but so far, the humor is in the lead with, actually, it's a tie. The humor and the Easter eggs, 38.9% of the vote, and the heart with 22.2%. And similarly, absolutely nobody has said that the occasional obscenity was their favorite part. Okay, that's fine. It's, that's fine. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying Lower Decks. It is October now, which means that we are less than a month away from the premiere of Star Trek Prodigy on Paramount Plus. I'm very excited for that. I just, whatever. I'm sure you'll hear a lot more about Prodigy in the next couple of weeks as well. All right, that's all I've got. Thank you guys very, very much for coming. It's been wonderful to see you in the chat. We will see you next week. Live long and prosper.